Yo, what is going on, guys? It's really been a while since I've uploaded a video, and it feels really good to be back. Not gonna lie, back on that grind, back on TCG in general. Yeah, I had a very hectic start of the year, but you know what? Doesn't really matter because I'm very happy to be back. And today is gonna be a very exciting video, mainly for me, is because today I'm gonna be showcasing my Dukemon Ace from BT17, and there's also going to be new Dukemon toys for me to play with, which will be fresh, and I cannot wait to show you guys on what I'm going to be, or how I'm going to be building that deck, in fact, when BT19 comes out within this month. Yeah, let's get straight into the video, guys. So, for the Digitamas, I'm still currently running 4 copies of the EXO2's Digimon, as that one draw has always been so good for me, and I just really love the fact that how I can just swing with the Digimon, I can still draw. But I was actually considering to run the BT17's Digimons, not exactly 4 copies of, maybe like 3 copies of this one and 2 copies of this one. And it's mainly because for the new one, what it does is it inherits when it attacks. By paying 1 cost, I can delete my opponent's DP 3k or less Digimon, which is not really the best skill, but it really does come in handy sometimes when you want to delete a little bits of like the rookies or the champions on your opponent's board. But for me, in my opinion, I always really like the consistency of just drawing me 1 card whenever I attack, and so yeah, this is why I'm going to be sticking it for a very long time now. So for the rookies, I run 4 copies of the starter deck's Gallantmon. This is the art from the BT17 starter deck one, and yeah, this card has always been really good. Just Digivolve into a Dukemon if my opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon on their field, and it's inherent to be able to draw a card whenever I pop something. Is really nice, as Dukemon really plays around DP destruction. So yeah, this is what is really nice. Or it can also proc when I delete my opponent's Digimon through battle. So this is a very handy card. And for the other Digimons that I run 4 copies of the EXO2's Digimon to be able to search me any card that has Gallantmon in its name or Dukemon in its name, and Itakado is really nice, and to be able to just delete one of my opponent's 3 killers Digimon, as the inherit has the exact same ability as Digimon, but instead of it paying a cost, you can just delete it as long as this Digimon has Gallantmon or Dukemon in his name, which is pretty nice. And I run 3 copies of the latest BT17's Digimon. So what it does is once per turn, during my turn, as long as I have a Gallantmon or a Takado on the field, I can destroy one opponent's 3k less Digimon. But if this effect doesn't delete anything, I can gain 1 memory. And this inherit is, if I have 0 or less memory, this Digimon's DP destruction DP goes up to by 2k, so which is really handy there. And last but not least, I run 1 copy of the Rush Gallantmon, is because yes, the fulfilling 20 cards in the drop for both players is very difficult, but that 1 copy does really come in handy sometimes. It just gets rushed right away, so this is a very nice finisher. And because of the way how frequent this deck Warp Digivolves, this card is very, very handy as well. And for the champions, I run 4 copies of the starter Gallantmon. I don't like seeing this card go because this card is just really nice. Just when my opponent's Digimon gets deleted, gaining 1 memory, it's just so efficient, and it's also a 4 cost on play, 2 cost Digivolve. It's also a 5k body, which is really nice. I just really love this card. It's basically a staple for Digimon decks for me. And the other champion I run is 4 copies of the Black Gallantmon. So what this card does is both players mill 2 cards from their deck, and from my trash, I can grab a Gallantmon name or a Dukemon card name and add it to my hand, and its inherit basically does the exact same thing, but except when it's deleted. And last but not least, I run 2 copies of the BT12's Gallantmon. If I don't have a Takado on the field, I can on-play me a Takado from my hand, and I was actually going to try to replace this with the BT17's Gallantmon. So what it does is when it evolves, I can delete an opponent's 4k less Digimon, but if this effect does not delete any Digimon, this Digimon gets 3k power. And its inherit is exactly the same thing as the BT17's Gallantmon. It also increases the 2k power for the maximum deletion effect. And I did like this card, but there are just some moments where I will be on playing Digimons, like such as for this one or that one, to be able to search me cards or just have a staple body on the field. And since I don't have the card on the field, Digivolving this one would be very nice, as I can Digivolve into a champion and also be able to on-play me a Tamer straight up, which is very, very handy. And then for the ultimates, I run 4 copies of the EXO3's War Gallantmon, because what it does is when it evolves, both players mill 3 cards from their deck, and If my opponent's or my trash has 5 cards or more, I can on-play me either a Gallantmon or a Takado from my trash to the board, which is really nice. With the help of Black Gallantmon, both players are always going to have 2 cards in their trash. And with this card, you can also mill 3 for each player, and then you guarantee either get a body or a Tamer, which is really nice. And the other ultimate I run is 3 copies of the BT17's War Gallantmon, because what it does is when it evolves, I can delete my opponent's 6k or less DP Digimon. But if this effect doesn't delete anything, this Digimon gets +1 security, which is really handy, because the main reason why Dukemon is a very interesting deck is because this deck really plays around. If X does not happen, then Y happens. This is one of the prime examples of why that effect is really good. And its other inherent ability is on both players' turn, if an effect has deleted an opponent's Digimon, this Digimon with Dukemon in his name can unsuspend. And this card can just unsuspend as long as the card has Dukemon in his name, which is really nice. And for the Megas, I run 4 copies of the BT12's Dukemon. What it does is, its first ability, it has Raid. So if you guys don't know what Raid does, is when this Digimon attacks, instead of attacking through the security, I can choose to attack one of my opponent's active highest DP Digimon if I wish to. And its other skill, when it evolves, I can delete my opponent's 6k or less DP Digimon, and then when it attacks, it does the exact same thing. But if this effect does not delete anything, I can mill one of my opponent's security straight up, which is really nice, because if I don't kill anything, I mill an opponent's security, and if I kill something, they lose a body on the board, which is really handy. And I run 2 copies of the BT17's Dukemon, as this card is quite defensive in this build, and it also kind of pairs up with the card that I'm talking about later. So what it does is when I evolve and when it attacks, I can delete my opponent's 8k or less Digimon. If this effect does not delete anything, throughout the end of turn, this Digimon gets blocker and gets 3k power. So this card is really nice. It just becomes a 14k body straight up on its own without any inherits, and also it's a blocker as well. And its other ability is what makes it extra interesting, because during my turn, if I'm on 0 memory, or 0 or less memory, sorry, this Digimon cannot be affected by my opponent's effect at all. But the downside about this card is that it only works if it's going through your opponent's turn, because the effect only procs when you have 0 or less memory. That's why you need cards in their inherit, or just cards that can help you gain memory back. This is why it's what makes this deck extra tricky to build. This is the reason why I chose to go for this type of playstyle instead, just going a full aggro and just relying on my inherits to be able to fully get this card out. And the other mega that I run is Dukemon X-Antibody. So what it does is it evolves on top of Dukemon for 1, and then when it evolves, I can delete my opponent's least DP Digimon. But if this effect does not delete anything, I may unsuspend. Or I think it's May, or yeah, this Digimon unsuspend, so it's a mandatory, sorry about that. And then during my turn, if my opponent's Digimon gets deleted, if this Digimon has Dukemon or X-Antibody in their trait, I can mill my opponent's security, which is really handy as well. It's mainly just there for the unsuspension, because Dukemon gives blocker into end of turn, right? So if I do attack with this and then evolve into X-Antibody, then I can unsuspend it, then Dukemon X-Antibody is going to be a blocker, which is really nice. It's going to be a 15k on the board because of the blocker and the 3k being inherited to the Digimon. So when I do on top of it, this card inherits it as well. And last but not least, this is probably my favorite card in this whole entire set, which is Dukemon Crimson Mode Ace. And sadly, don't think we're going to get a Dukemon Ace anytime soon, but we do have Mega Dukemon Ace, which is pretty nice. But I still love it regardless, because Dukemon Ace is a real game changer, sitting alongside with Dukemon from the BT17. So what it does is kind of as evil. When my opponent attacks, I can just straight up evolve it for free. And when it's on played or when it evolves, I can delete my opponent's sum up to 15k DP power Digimon on the field. So that's basically a board wipe, if I'm being honest. So his other ability is every 10 cards equal to both me and my opponent's as trash, I mill one of my opponent's security. So that is a very scary skill, because I remember the very first Dukemon, the EXO2 one, the Crimson mode, you only mill up to your opponent's as trash. But this one, it's up to both players' trash. So that is really good, because in this build that I have 2 cards that self mills, and it also mills opponents. And with these 2 cards as help, this card is going to be on full potential, and hence why this card is right now is my favorite card of all time. And I'm going to go straight into Tamer. So for Tamers, I run 4 copies of the Blitz Staccato. It's always going to be a 4. It's never going to go it's never going to go down. I mean, maybe in the future it might go to 3, but for now, I just love the fact that it gives Blitz, and then whenever I delete my opponent's Digimon, it gets 1 memory, which is very handy. And I run 2 copies of the BT17 Staccato. So what it does is, when my main phase begins, if I have a Gallantmon, Dukemon, or Gallantmon on the field, I can gain 1 memory. And then during my end of my turn, this Tamer can go underneath Gallantmon. By doing so, I may warp Digivolve into a Dukemon by placing a Gallantmon and a War Gallantmon from my trash underneath this Digimon's evolution source. Is really nice. And last but not least, I run 2 copies of the memory resetting Staccato. So it's exactly the same thing as this Staccato, but the timing is going to be different, because this one activates during main phase, this one only activates during end step. So although they both do the exact same thing, I would still prefer this Staccato over this one for sure. It's mainly because even if I do end my turn and my opponent has a bombarded amount of memory, so for example, if I leave my opponent at 4 memory, as long as I have a Geo on the board, I can just straight up warp Shinkai into it. And as long as I have this Staccato on the field, I can gain Blitz, and I can just either swing for game, or I can sabotage their board a little bit, which is very nice. This card is really nice as well, because it's a very solid, stable 3 memory resetter, which is really nice. And last but not least, for the option cards, I run 4 copies of the wow, what's this training called? Physical training. I know physical training is the yellow one, right? This one is offense training. Yeah, offense training. So what offense training does is when it's on played during main phase, I reveal 2 cards in my deck, and I can add any red card amongst them and add to my hand. And this other ability is main delay. The next time when I Digivolve into Digimon, I can reduce the Digivolution cost by 2. And so, sadly, I'm not running any defensive options. It's because I'm just mainly relying on Dukemon from BT17 to be my stable blocker. And then when my opponent commits, hopefully when this card survives, I can just blast Digivolve into a Dukemon Ace. This is a very standard, very like aggro, very non-comprehensive build. It's just a very basic, like very themed deck. And yeah, this is the direction that I like going with the deck, is because I just love being as aggressive as possible. And this is my current build for BT17's Dukemon. I'm really sorry that if I stumble a bit with my words, because I haven't really done this for a while, and I'm just very glad to be back to make videos for you guys. And yeah, I will be seeing you guys very soon. Don't worry, because I'm going to be making a BT19 Dukemon deck profile very soon, and I'm also, interestingly, going to be making a pure fun Royal Knights Dukemon build very soon. It does consist of me running Digimon Ace, and so yeah, I can't wait for you guys to look forward to this deck profile. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting me for the past few years. I'm always grateful for you guys being by my side, and yeah, I'm very grateful to be back. And there will be more videos coming up very soon, I promise this time. And I'll see you guys very soon. Take care. See y'all. Peace.